Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video I'm going to talk about the best decks to climb all the way to Legend in Hearthstone's Voyage to the Sunken City after the first week. So the first week has seen some old favorites stay the same from all the way from day one. They have seen some new decks coming up, some changes in the lists, and these are the 8 decks that are currently performing the best. So coming in at number 8 we have Pirate Rogue. Pirate Rogue doesn't really have a lot of strengths. Pirate Rogue is probably the most mellow of all the decks in the top list, so it's pretty decent against everything, but it's not super great against anything. Its main weakness is Aggro Demon Hunter, which is also an aggro deck but even faster than Pirate Rogue. Pirate Rogue got to this position by making itself already faster than it was at the start of the expansion, teaching the signature legendary hook task. Yeah, too slow. Just need to kill the opponent or you need to lose. That's just the way it goes. And this sort of Pirate Rogue deck is playable at least, although it is struggling to remain as one of the good climbing decks. And coming in at number 7 is Quest Hunter. And Quest Hunter has gone through a lot of changes already in the first week of Sunken City, ditching the multicaster approach, and we're back to Drekthar approach, this time with some Nagas in the mix. So we have stuff like Treasure Guard, Taunt and Card Draw, and of course Rainatsian. So when your spells are being cast, then they're going to deal extra damage to the enemy hero. Also, Emergency Maneuvers has been a great secret addition to this list, so well, fair few changes with Quest Hunter. And how does that affect Quest Hunter's position overall? Quest Hunter is one of the best decks to beat Aggro Demon Hunters, that's a great feature, but it is weak against Ramp Druids and Mech Paladins, so it has some strengths, it has some weaknesses, but overall a playable list, and now quite different than it was on day 1. Coming in at number 6 is Burn Shaman, and Burn Shaman has also changed a little bit. Sure, it still is using a multicaster, the multicaster approach, many spell schools, but the other multi-spell school synergy card, the Naga that summons a board of elementals, that has been ditched. It has not been strong enough. Rather, the deck is now looking for ways to get some stuff on the board, and then use bioluminescence, get some spell damage on all of those minions, and then just burn, really burn phase. So Burn Shaman is back to its roots with burning. It also still has the Snowfall Guardian Brilliant Macaw, so it can freeze boards, it can deal great amounts of damage from hand, and it's just looking pretty strong. The deck is not fully refined yet, in particular, like Bran, Radiance of Azara, and Bolne Hammerbeak, like all the legendary cards apart from Rukan are a little bit questionable choices. It's not certain that any of those are going to stay in the deck in the long term, so I would be a little wary of crafting those, but Rukan of the Elements, that is still phenomenal. And coming in at number 5 is Control Paladin. Control Paladin has overtaken Mech Paladin. Mech Paladin is currently not featured in this list, although the best Mech Paladin lists are still rocking above 50% win rates. Mech Paladin suffers a little bit in that it's a bit slower than most other mech decks, so it loses the race, and while it is good against very slow decks like Control Warriors, Control Warrior also has not been very prevalent lately. Control Warrior has huge problems against Quest Warriors, and that's why Control Warrior just isn't around that much. But Control Paladin is doing pretty well. It's good against Aggro Demon Hunters, good against Burn Shamans, good against Face Hunters. Its weaknesses, Ramp Druid and Quest Warrior, are quite tough though, so I don't know, it's kind of rock, paper, scissors. That's the way Hearthstone often is. But anyway, Control Paladin, you can defend, you can survive for a long time, especially with Lifeforce Cariel, and then you can pump up a pretty big Mr. Smite in your hand, cast some Garden's Crazies into it, and boom, just end the game out of nowhere. The number 4 deck is Mech Mage. Mech Mage is the better of the mech decks, Mech Paladin is the weaker one. Mech Mage has only changed by 2 cards since day 1, and the changes as Wound Orbs are out, and 2 copies of Shivering Sorcerers are in. Shivering Sorcerers, if you can get Shivering Sorcerers into C4 Gateway, that's just so incredibly good, because C4 Gateway, getting a bunch of Mecha Sharks, cheap mechs, boom 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 boom. That's the real power turn of Mech Mage. There are also variants of Mech Mage that run like the 10-mana dragon summoning spell along with Belinda or something like that, but that does not seem to be a good approach, so I would advise against doing any of that stuff and sticking with a slightly lower curve, trusting in the power of your Mecha Sharks. Number 3 is the most popular deck in the game, and that is Quest Warrior. And Quest Warrior has not changed by a single card since day 1. Yeah, all the way from day 1, no changes needed. There are of course various attempts at different lists, but none of them really seem to be an improvement over this one, so yeah, it just keeps rolling like this. It has no weaknesses. Ramp Druid has found ways to beat Quest Warriors, and also Aggro Demon Hunter has come to the scene. I'll talk about Aggro Demon Hunter in a while. And Aggro Demon Hunter seems to be too fast for Quest Warrior to respond. So Aggro Demon Hunter is taking advantage of these mech decks, quest decks, being a little slow at the start and just going under them, and doing that quite effectively. And being able to do that is what promotes Aggro Demon Hunter to the second best deck in the game. Actually, looking at statistics, Aggro Demon Hunter and the number one deck, I'm going to spoil you a little bit here, the number one deck is Ramp Druid. These two are really neck and neck when it comes to performance. But I would still rate Ramp Druid above Aggro Demon Hunter, because Aggro Demon Hunter is more like a precision tool. It's kind of a one-trick pony that has a bunch of good matchups in the current meta. But it has also tons of bad matchups, which are just not that prevalent in the current meta, because like, I was playing a lot of control decks and Reno decks and this sort of stuff early in this expansion, and then I saw some Aggro Demon Hunters and I was like, what is all this fuss about, because they all just die. But it turns out that, yeah, because it's coming right at you, either it kills you real quick or it loses. And I was playing control decks, it loses to all control decks, so there are so many ways that you can abuse Aggro Demon Hunter. Even though it is quite quick, quite deadly in right scenarios, it also has tons of weaknesses. There's also two notable variants of Aggro Demon Hunter. The HS Replay site, for example, calls them Token Demon Hunter and Naga Demon Hunter. And what's really curious about those is that for both of those variants, the cards that define the variant are the weakest cards in the deck. In the token version, the token cards are the weakest cards in the deck. In the Naga version, the Naga cards are the weakest cards in the deck. So it's the aggro core that is really keeping this deck together, and once you find out, like, if there was a way to do it with something else than Nagas or tokens, something stronger, then there's some scary potential in this deck, but I don't think we've seen nearly all of that potential yet. On the other hand, Ramp Druid is starting to show its potential. Ramp Druid has been refined a little bit now. Well, it's all about that ramping. Just ramp, ramp, rampity, ramp, ramp, ramp. Jerry Carpenter's hopefully drawing nourishes. It can also draw Wrath though, so maybe there's something to do with that. Maybe there's room to cut Wrath and ensure the nourish. I'm not certain, maybe that's not important. We'll see. But anyway, using stuff like Oracle of Loon together with Naga Giants, then Oracle of Loon with Ivos the Forest Lord, there's all sorts of these combos that this deck can pull off. And then once you have big minions with this deck, well, Earthen Scales, just tons and tons of armor coming right in. And then all of that pressure should just make your opponent crumble. If you can find your ramp and you're fast enough to get to your swing turns, then you just win. There's no ifs and no buts about it. So that's what makes Ramp Druid so incredibly scary, because unlike Aggro Demon Hunter, Ramp Druid doesn't really have that sort of clear weakness. Sure, fast aggro, you kill them before they can ramp and stabilize. Yeah, that's one way to do it, but sometimes they just ramp and stabilize anyway, and there's very little you can do about that. Another observation about Ramp Druid is that Kazakusan lists are now prevalent, and Kazakusan is the weakest performing card in all of these lists. But it does appear that in the odd case where game would actually go a little bit longer, it would be a little bit slower matchup, then having that Kazakusan available as an option is still strong. So that is what has been happening in the first week of Sunken City meta. There are still lots of unrefined decks, like the Aggro Demon Hunter is completely unrefined. Another one, for example, is Face Hunter. I didn't feature Face Hunter here, because while there are some promising Face Hunter builds, I think all of them are still far from having the right level of refinement. There's still many cards in those decks that have good statistics that I really don't like. But if you like Face Hunter, I recently made a video about Budget Face Hunter, which also includes instructions to build it into a full cost list, which will be a little different than anything that's being played at the moment, and I think that might be a more fruitful approach to the archetype, but we would need more data to say for sure. So yeah, still plenty to solve in this meta, and these are currently the 8 best decks that have been discovered in Sunken City so far. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Twitch channel.